Oh boy, look out, there's Marge.
Oh boy, the maniac.
Yeah, hey, come here, Marge. Oh, she's on you. I thought it was just me. No. Now I'm upset because I thought Marge just loved me. Hey, what's up, Dale? Okay, you be good now. Open that mouth. Oh, we got problems already. Open. Oh, she got the she got the brick. There you go. That's better, huh? And this is exactly what we want to talk about today. Alligators as pets. Have a real good, honest, and in-depth conversation about it. I wouldn't consider these guys pets, to be perfectly honest. But years ago, you could get a baby alligator out of the back of a comic Cracker Jack box. I'm talking like in the 50s, 60s. They would actually sell them as pets. In Florida, people driving down, they drive back up north, and you all heard the stories of alligators in the sewers. Well, that's because when the alligators started to wear out their welcome up north, they'd just flush them down the toilet or just drop them in a river or just, well, who knows what happened to them. I can guarantee you, though, there are no alligators in the New York City sewers. Believe me, I've looked. You could call me the crocodile hunter of New York. All right, today we're going to go down to 45th Street. We're going to be looking for some gators. You know, I always thought of like Steve Irwin, but with a New York accent. But anyway, I'm joking around. So somewhere over here is a male alligator, and Snaggletooth should be coming around, and you'll see just how big he is. Dale is 8 feet long. She is just about full grown. Now, Tom, you got, oh, by the way, Tom's here. You might be noticing.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, it's Tom. I'm very happy about this, friends. It's been a long time, which is why we can have a nice in-depth conversation, because Tom's with us, and I don't have to worry so much about holding the camera and looking at the alligators. All right, Dale, you want to do me a favor and open that mouth of yours again? We're in an odd angle. Here, Tom, I'm going to step over here. But, yeah, Dale, come on, girl. Oh, there's one right by your little mouth. Come on. There she goes. She'll figure that one out. Basically, are alligators good pets? Nah, I would say no. They get huge, they require a lot of space, and they could bite your leg off. These typically don't make a pet very enjoyable. However, for guys like us who really love reptiles, there are pathways to being able to foster, steward, and keep these animals. But you really have to have a lot of land, preferably land within the range these animals live. There's so many states that don't have real criteria or rules about keeping crocodilians, and that has been to the detriment of the actual animals themselves. I lived in Pennsylvania for quite a long time, and in Pennsylvania to this day you still do not need any kind of permit to keep an alligator. Which stinks, because what happens is most people keep these animals in their basements in a tub. They start to get big. They get deformed bodies from metabolic bone disease. They get misshapen jaws from constantly laying in a bathtub where their jaws actually become upturned. You see a lot of problems like obesity, which leads to internal organ problems. And this is not what modern reptile keepers want to achieve. Those of us who keep reptiles nowadays are really, for the most part, trying to do it responsibly. At least I know people that find this channel are, because I see the comments below and I see how much you guys care about your animals. Now, it's cool to be fascinated by these animals. To me, they are the pinnacle of keeping reptiles. They are true dinosaurs. In fact, they're archosaurs. They come from a lineage of reptiles that begat the birds, the dinosaurs, and the crocodilians. So that's really cool in itself. So I get the kind of passion, I get the interest in wanting one of these, because they are, oh, he thinks that's the food. There she goes. Because they basically, it's like sharing space with a dinosaur. And I'll tell you what, you know, years ago, these animals resided at our friend Fred Grunwald's house. And Fred was a true pioneer of keeping crocodilians. He had been keeping crocodilians since the late 1960s, and he was really well known in his neighborhood as just the crocodile guy. And you guys remember him on this channel. He's hard to forget. We love him so much. So years ago, I became friends with him and learned so much and had real hands-on experience with these animals that you're seeing right here because they lived with him.
Yeah, they're definitely not pets. I mean, it's something that has been a fascination for you for so long, and obviously myself.
Since I've been about 10 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since my dad bought me a caiman when I was a little kid, to me that was a baby dinosaur. And that's the way I feel about them today. They're the coolest animals on earth. A lot smarter than most people give them credit for.
But back then, you know, there wasn't the same criteria we have now for keeping these animals. In Florida nowadays, you have to have a special permit. And the way I got my permit was with Fred. I had to kind of apprentice with Fred. Oh, you got something in your teeth, dear. There she goes. She got a stick. She hasn't quite figured that out. We also have to keep an eye behind us because there is about a 12.5-foot gator somewhere. In fact, if I just tossed a biscuit out there, you might see his little head pop up. We'll see him in a little bit. But anyway, Fred taught me a lot about these animals. I got to spend time with him and the animals at his property. That's been well documented on the earlier videos of this channel. And I learned that you have to treat all these animals with the utmost of respect, even when they are young. And that's kind of part of the reason I'm talking to you guys, because it is so easy to get a crocodilian of any size. And in a little while, we're going to go see a dwarf caiman, which is the smallest crocodilian species on Earth. But even those really need more space than you think, and they can be dangerous. You can get a really nasty bite. So you don't want that to happen. It's easy to see these animals laying around with their crocodile smiles or those kind of goofy little faces that alligators have and think that they are not going to do any damage, that they aren't fast, but they are incredibly fast. And I wouldn't say they're aggressive. I'd say that they speak a language we don't wholeheartedly understand. And a little nip from one of them could be just disastrous to a human being, which is little more than a blood bag. So it's important you really understand that these animals have tremendous strength and they can spring into action at any moment. So in Florida, you have to have 1,000 hours of practical experience with the species that you are intending to keep. So that means if I wanted to keep alligators, I had to do 1,000 hours with Fred or someone who had alligators. With the caiman, I did 1,000 hours for the caiman. If it was a Nile crocodile, saltwater crocodile, you have to work with those animals in order to get the permit for said animals. You also have some land requirements. You have to have at least 2.5 acres of property to possess alligators, caiman, and dwarf crocodiles. All other species, like most other crocodile species, gharial, and larger caiman like the black caiman, you're going to need a Class 1 permit. So that Class 1 permit comes with a few more stipulations, like you have to have a $10,000 bond, which is a type of insurance that you have to carry in order to have those animals. And the minimum housing requirement, meaning the minimum amount of land that you can have to have a Class 1 animal, is 5 acres, which we don't have here at Kamp Kenan. So that's why I was able to take these animals. And I've said it in so many videos prior that it was an honor to be able to take these animals because of how much Tom and I both really loved Fred. He was there with us for the first videos, and years later he had come to me and said, I want you to take these animals when I pass away because I know they'll be in a good large enclosure, they'll be well cared for, and they'll be loved. And he really loved these animals. Did you want to tell me something,
Well,
bud?
I was going to say, like, what do you say to the people that are saying, you know, hey, I'm in Pennsylvania. I really love gators. You know, I really love crocs. I can get them, you know, and I've got them. Like, what do you say to those people? I mean, because they're out there. They're out there.
Listen, you know, I have a close friend, Clyde Peeling from Reptile Zoo in Williamsport or Allenwood, Pennsylvania. And he's built a beautiful indoor facility with, you know, greenhouse glass that allows ultraviolet rays to come through. And that's like a multi-million-dollar facility. It's not impossible for because I toe the line here. You want to have an honest conversation. if you have the means, if you have the ability to provide this animal at least an outdoor enclosure part of the year in Pennsylvania, like from May until September, probably even a little bit later, because these are some of the more cold tolerant crocodilians, because we do get some odd 20-degree weather down here in Florida. They are very, very tough, and they're adapted to our colder climate. So if you're keeping them outdoors in Pennsylvania or up north sometime into September, probably even early October, it's possible, but you gotta have a large enough enclosure that provides them with UVB and place to turn around and move about and act normally.
Isn't the reality, like, you get it, right? And you get this little guy and he's only a foot long, right?
Yeah.
And so you're good for maybe what, 5 or 6
years? They grow about a foot a year for the first 4 to 5 years. Right. So after 5 years, you've got a 5-foot alligator. Yeah, a lot of people, but most people bail out earlier than that. They see the writing on the wall when the animal's about 3 foot, because they become powerful. They're no longer able to fit inside of an aquarium. You've now moved them either to a bathtub or to the like a tub. They're climbing out of the tub. You have
so what do you do in that situation when you get to that point and you're like, I'm in over my head? What are you supposed to do?
Most people, sadly, if they're getting an animal like that, they're already in over their head. Most people dump the animal. There's so many reports of alligators that have been dumped. You'll see people in a lake. There was one in Pittsburgh. Up in Chicago, there was an alligator that was made famous. Its name was Chance the Gator. St. Augustine sent one of their keepers up there to get it, and they caught it and brought it back to St. Augustine Alligator Farm. These things happen. It happens with many reptiles that become large. Not just alligators. It can happen with pythons. It can happen with large monitor lizards. So it's a shame, because at the end of the day, the animal suffers, and then we as a group of people, as hobbyists, wind up suffering because some people are doing the wrong thing. So it is something that is very near and dear to me about making sure these animals are cared for properly in captivity. That's why, listen, I grew up in Long Island, New York, Tom. I had lizards, I had snakes, turtles. My dream was always to give them the best possible life. And I'm not trying to come off as pious, although I'm sure it sounds that way. I'm not trying to come off that way. But if we really have the animals' well-being in mind, you want them outdoors as much as possible. So, I made the conscious decision to move down here. And I moved at a time when, it was not as expensive to live in Florida. So I was able to afford 2.5 acres, and now I'm locked in here. And it's been one of my greatest achievements is this backyard and seeing these animals super happy in it. But I just want to always try and be, as I move into the elder statesman part of my life, I really just want to really get young people to be thinking about what we can do to properly care for these animals and put their needs first. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's difficult without the means financially up north and the space. And down here, this is where alligators live. I mean, you saw this development, guys, and Tom. I mean, basically, we dug a hole, water came up out of the ground, and the biggest expense for us was enclosing this. And that was a lot of money for the camp. I think it was close to $20,000 when all was said and done, to do the proper fencing to make sure that, number one, no one can get in. Well, number one, they can't get out, and number two, no one can get in. And then there were height requirements, specific gauge of the wiring. So it's not like, hey, let's just build a fence. The fence goes in the ground, then it comes 3 feet inward.
It's got to be a double fence.
It's got to be a double fence. It was like stressful. And then even after we did it, when we got inspected, there were some concerns. Like you get one inspector says one thing, another says another. So it's like super, it's expensive. I mean, it's expensive. But once you get it dialed, it's very rewarding. Because you see, here's what's cool. You see how she's behaving? When I come in here with the biscuits, she is much calmer. If I came in and they smelled chicken parts or any kind of prey item,
forget it, yeah.
They go crazy. They get super, super aggro. Now, there are croc experts like Chris Gillette. They do a lot of work with these animals. I I would say he's habituated them. I think he would even agree with me. They're habituated to him. He understands their posturing, their personalities, what he can get away with. But I don't think he'd ever say they are tame, because at any moment this animal can, in its brain, it wants to do something. It's got the power to do it and overpower a person very quickly. And if you are in their environment, i.e. the water with them, things can go really bad really quickly. A few months ago, there was a rumor coming out of Africa. Now, this is a totally different species. We're talking about Nile crocodiles. Yeah. The Nile crocodile and saltwater crocodile, and crocodile species of many different kinds, like your muggers and your Americans, and the Americans found in South and Central America, Orinoco. These are large, powerful predators. They have been eating people, especially the Nile, since there have been people. Right. So if you believe people evolved out of Africa and went from some kind of relative of a chimpanzee to a proper hominid, these are, you're looking at about 200 million years of evolution. They were looking like this 200 million years ago. We were not. So we were pretty much knuckle draggers coming out of the savannas, coming down out of the trees, going to the water edge and being eaten. So these are animals that take down wildebeest and zebra and very powerful ungulates. A human being is an easy meal. So in the Okavango Delta, it's the world's only inland delta. This is all anecdotal, guys. I don't know. I'm just going to relay. I don't know who it was, but there was recently, this past June, a croc expert went on a dive. You can actually scuba dive in the Okavango Delta. Oh, yeah, beautiful crystal clear, yeah, crystal clear water. And it just made recently, there was video footage that was released on Facebook. There's some kind of drama that was going on. The footage was released without permission, so I actually saw the footage. So it's two divers in about 20-25 foot of water. It appeared that deep anyway. Very clear conditions. They went to the bottom. One diver had a camera in his hand. The other is kind of getting the whole view. And you see the Nile crocodile coming up from the bottom with its mouth open. And what was so disturbing about this video is that it wasn't like you would expect an attack to be, like a fast chase. It was actually a slow, methodical pursuit where the animal's mouth is open. The diver is trying to bump its nose, but that's not a shark. That's a Nile crocodile. It's a totally different beast. And it was coming up. The diver ascended to the surface, and you see just almost gently, boom, the croc got him in the leg and just gently starts pulling him down. Just pulled him all the way back down to the bottom. From what I heard, and again, this is just anecdotal, this is just what was relayed to me, and relayed to them, and relayed to, no one was there, but I did see the video. The person was brought down to the bottom, and they stayed there about 20 minutes. Unfortunately, the person lost a leg outright from the knee down. The other leg was very much mangled, and they tried to save it, but because you're in Africa and infection set in, and I don't know what kind of treatment they had, he is now a double amputee from the legs down. And it just shows you how quickly things can go wrong. Here we are. I'm very cavalier. I'm just kind of hanging out. I don't know where Snaggletooth is. Luckily, we have low water now. I can see her. He's not coming up. We got a good place to watch. I know he's not in here. I do have my head on a swivel. I'm aware of my surroundings. I am not the type of croc guy or alligator guy that wants to do alligator wrestling. That's just not me. I don't fault anyone that wants to get in there and do their thing, but that's just not me. It's not why I love the animals. I don't want mastery over the animal. I want to share space, have an understanding of the animal. Really, I just want to do right by my buddy who passed away. I just want these animals to be in a naturalistic enclosure. I want them to be safe, fed, cared for, and if one day they breed, that would be just a tremendous accomplishment. But yeah, the alligators, you know, it's really, I would steer you away from crocodiles and alligators if you wanted to keep one as a pet. But let's go wander to an animal where I think, if you are serious about keeping crocodilians, let's go and see an animal that I think would be better suited. It stays smaller, but it's no less cantankerous.
Yeah.
So let's head.
It's this. If you're a person, you want to take it to the next level. You're like, hey, you know what? I live up north. I live in Pennsylvania. I live wherever I live, right? And it's not the best area.
Yeah.
But I really want to take it to the next level, and I want to keep these animals. What are the best states? Like, where are the best places?
The best places: South Carolina, Georgia. You want to come down to Florida, and I would look into working at an animal sanctuary, volunteer there. When I first moved to Florida, one of the first places I went was Bush Wildlife, because I knew they kept alligators and crocodiles, and I knew that I can get hands-on experience. So I forged a relationship with them. I did get part of my hours there. I think, you know, identifying others, joining herpetological societies, volunteering at zoos up north. They have a lot of like volunteer days that are important. Great ways to show your seriousness, show the keepers that you're serious, show the administrators you're serious, because one of the things that good administrators want to do when they are basically staffing their institutions is they want to know the people. So if you've been a volunteer for years and there's a job positioning opening, and you've gone through the necessary schooling for, perhaps you need schooling for, you know, a zoo job. I would imagine you need at least a bachelor's. That would be one of the best places if I were an administrator to hire from, because here he is. Come on.
What about places like Texas and California?
Texas are great. California a little more difficult. A lot of different rules, but Texas is great. Louisiana is great because these are places where alligators live anyway. So right now we are in with Louie. Come on, Lou. See this? Look at this. There he is. Now he's going to see that, and he'll give it a nibble. There it is.
That's so crazy. I didn't even see him under a brush.
Yeah.
I didn't know where he was coming from.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. And that's the cool thing about these guys is that as far as, oh boy, look out, there's Marge.
Oh boy, the maniac.
Yeah, hey, come here, Marge. Oh, she's on you. I thought it was just me.
No.
Now I'm upset because I thought Marge just loved me.
No.
If you walk over here, maybe I can get her attention and give her a piece of croc chow. But, so this is a more, you know, I've said it many times, it's a more terrestrial animal. It doesn't require, you see the large enclosure here, it does wind up eating all that. It does wind up using the entire habitat. Come here, there she is. Now I gotta be careful, man. This animal's probably more dangerous than the actual gator. Look at this, they're sharing like the Lady and the Tramp, but you might lose a head. Holy smokes. So, anyhow, I would recommend if you are serious and you do have a large indoor terrarium, you could get away with keeping a dwarf caiman. And they're every bit a crocodilian. They're all of it. Look at them. I mean, they look like them. They have the attitude. They're intelligent like the rest of the crocodilians, but they are a little bit more manageable. Now, this particular one, Fred was able to handle, and it has an interesting story. Oh, you again? It has an interesting story because, come here. Come here. I can't believe you swallowed that thing. The interesting story about this one is actually I purchased this one years and years and years ago as a baby. And I just wound up giving it to Fred. And I think it also went to Gatorama in Palmdale, Florida for a little while. They gave him back to Fred. Fred kept it for a few more years and tamed it up. Fred passed away. I got the animal back. And now it lives here and it'll finish out its days here at the camp. That's for certain. But, you know, it's just funny how many times he's changed hands, you know. It's an awesome animal because it is habituated to people. But if I go over there and try and pick it up, he'll probably flip around and bite me. And that's the other thing about these guys. They can inflict an incredibly bad wound. The inside of their mouth is still the outside of their body. So they're living in a lot of swamp water. I mean, it's very clean here, but still there's bacteria and things in their mouths that can really give you a bad injury, even in captivity. So you have to be careful with infection. As we heard from the story earlier, you know, once infection sets in, because, you know, all their teeth there, it's like a hypodermic needle pushing infection into your flesh. So that's one of the problems. And they're lightning fast, so you just got to know about these animals. So I'm not saying it is impossible. I'm saying, though, larger crocodilians, probably not a good idea if you live up north. Why not go with a smaller species like the dwarf caiman, dwarf croc. You know, you can get your somewhat of your experience with them. And you know, if you really want to make a difference and keep these animals, move south. Get their proper permitting, provide really cool outdoor enclosures, and if you want to go even beyond to become a biologist with these animals, you know the traditional routes of college, schooling, working at a zoological institution, and then you can become a researcher. We have some great friends like John Brugan at St. Augustine Alligator Farm, and our good buddy Lonnie McCaskill, who is one of my mentors with crocodilians, and he is kind of out on his own at the moment doing his own research. And in the meantime, we're keeping our buddy Lucifer. You know why he's named Lucifer, right? Because he's evil. Anyway, Lucifer's fat and happy, as are all the crocodilians here at camp. Oh, you're getting kind of close there, buddy. Okay, Lucifer, good hanging with you, buddy. And friends, I hope this video finds you guys paying attention, because at the end of the day, we really want to care for these animals, don't we? All right, thanks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and head on over to our Patreon page for exclusive content and a way you can help the camp go even further. Thanks so much.